Well, it's Friday evening, May 15th, '09. Boy, we have had another evening of severe weather. Lots of monitoring it on the local TV stations. Had a little contest with my wife and I, and our son and daughter-in-law from Clearwater were over for going to the Triangle to eat this evening. We were debating which weatherman we liked the best, which coverage we liked the best. And flipped to the Weather Channel, the National Channel a time or two, see what they were saying, and have a special radio that you can plug in. It gives you alerts on weather so that you can have it on at night and it can wake you up if things getting bad out there. Just kind of a part of a ritual you go through if you're in Tornado Alley in the spring, when the weather patterns, the wind patterns, the moisture patterns bring moisture up out of the Gulf, create situations where the fronts collide. Whoa, look out. But it's 9:20 now, and I just stepped outside and looked around. Everything's looking pretty quiet. About dusk, maybe an hour before it really began to get dark, the kids were leaving to go back to Clearwater, and as we stepped out, there were 4 or 5 adults that you could see from various houses that were out watching those clouds. They weren't depending on the weatherman on the TV. They were going to do their own weather reporting and storm observing and be sure they were safe. Well, got to watching television a while ago and decided to pull out the annual on 1956 year, Elkhart, Kansas. And boy, it was one of those that got damaged terribly in a shed. A number of years down at Yuma, had all those annuals stashed out in a shed. And I don't know, they might have drawn a little moisture, might have attracted the cockroaches, the mice, whatever. Something. One of the college annuals, I think it was completely destroyed. And this 1956 one, it got the business pretty good. But going through it was a pleasure last night. Had to kind of pull some pages apart. May go back and get it after a while and go through and just read some names to you. I looked at those faces and remembered those names, and it was a precious experience. Well, I noticed some certain things, and by God, the first one I noticed was that no wonder I thought I was moving to a bigger school. I was. Some of those elementary classes were bigger in number than the entire Hartner High School enrollment, where we'd had about 40 kids in high school at Hartner. There was, I guess, I didn't count, but about 100 at Elkhart. And I hadn't given enough credit either to the business community. My gosh, there was 2 drugstores, 2 lumber yards, 2 car dealerships, a drive-in movie, some big businesses that serviced the farming and ranching communities. A couple of clothing stores. Seems like there was a couple of specialty men's stores. Quite a town. It was and is quite a town. Serves a large area geographically and a vibrant community then and now. And working with the board, one of the things that came up was they were, I guess, a little alarmed at what they had heard this past 55 year about the senior trip getting maybe a little out of hand, and they felt like maybe the kids were endangered. Maybe it was concern from earlier years, I don't know, but I could tell they were kind of hinting they'd like for me to agree to end senior trips. Boy, I thought about that for a while. We're going to tighten up the discipline. It's not going to be welcomed by the kids. They're going to feel like I'm an old grouch. And closing the noon hour, that's going to really cause some reaction. We got to be careful we don't get too darn negative here. So I said to the board, let's don't do that. And I explained about, we got to be careful we don't create a us and them mentality here. I'll tell you what, I'll personally be one of the sponsors for that class and go on that senior trip, and I'll take care of that situation. Those kids will not be in danger. Well, that's an easy promise to make, and we'll get back to that, of course, a lot later. The board certainly was wanting to do the right things, and they wanted to get a lot of problems corrected, but at the same time they wanted to work with me, and I was certainly wanting to work with them, so we were off to a good situation. And I certainly never worried about that senior trip during the year at all. I, in fact, look forward to it. Figure we'll have a good time.